Hey everyone, Witches of the Moon. Welcome back for another season. This season we have a lot of interesting topics, so I hope you stick around and watch some of our other stuff. So with that being said, our new topic for this week is Akashic Records. I know when people think of Akashic Records, it's kind of a new age term, and really it's not. It's the oldest type of mentality. I think our oldest concept there is. If you are into shamanism, you tap into Akashic Records, whether you believe it or not. If you meditate, you're tapping into Akashic Records. Akashic Records are really, you have to think of it as kind of like the immune system or the circulatory system of the universe. I was actually watching a video about this, and I really should have taken a lot more notes all together. But one of the things that they did say, that the universe is comprised of dark matter mostly, and dark matter is actually 85% of the universe, and only a fraction of that is actually like dark energy, stuff that's actually used for whatever it may be. So the other stuff they haven't figured out. So that's a big chunk of the universe that we are tapping into. Some of us are tapping into, and we don't know what it is. I see it as I see it as a kind of a roadway to God's source, or a roadway to a divine source, whatever you see it as. It's a connection to that singular entity, or in our, in the witch's case, it's the duality of male and female, which I think in the end it's just a unisex. To me, I feel it's a unisex energy. It just happens to be separated into these categories because that's how our brain perceives things, male and female. With the Akashic Records, you can do a lot with it. I will post a link on the bottom, and it's a very general list, but it's a list to kind of get you started and send you in the right direction if you are interested in learning more about Akashic Records. I definitely would recommend, there's I can't remember the movie that I watched on Gaia. I think it's like Inner and Outer Worlds. If I believe that's the name, if I remember the name correctly, that's the one I watched. And it does, halfway through the video, it starts talking about Akashic Records and how his scientists labeled it basically dark matter, and that's why I brought up dark matter. And so you use it all the time probably, but it's, like I said, it's the circulatory system. It's the roadway in which energy works. It's kind of like, I want to say, it's the way the particles move about, because we are all energy in one way, shape, or form. We just happen to perceive ourselves as physical mass, but really we're just a clump of particles together. I think dark matter is more, I don't think it's invisible, it's just invisible to us because we haven't learned to see it. We haven't learned to perceive it in the way that it's ready for us to comprehend and not make us insane. I was watching, I was watching this, and I was thinking about a conversation that a professor I had at one point. Actually, it was a Dharma teacher actually, and he said, sometimes people aren't ready for things. And you got to think of it as this way: if someone is not ready for something, they're either not going to comprehend it and walk away from it, or B, go completely insane because they totally get it, and it breaks their whole world. And the thing that he likened it to, it's like if you were to take the movie The Matrix and go back into the 1920s and show that to someone, you know, it would, one, they wouldn't believe, you know, there's these beings in these box, you know, that they perceive as the TV. They're like, that's witchcraft. Or B, they go completely insane because it would just be too much for them to process. You know, their brains haven't developed to that point. And that's how I feel like when you tap into the Akashics, you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready for anything, especially in this day and age. If you're not ready for change, if you're not ready for a new way of thinking, you're not going to make it in this world, because right now, especially right now, because of the internet and everything else that's changing constantly, more so than it did, you know, in the 80s and 70s and 60s. Everything changes on a dime. Think about the company that you work for now, and if you've been for that company for a long time, you know it's gone through several policies and several concepts and several variations of itself. And if you didn't change with it, you would get left behind. And I think when you work with the Akashic Records, it teaches you to tap into a being that's malleable, that's able to stomach the change and figure itself out along the way. Because it's one thing to listen and conform, but it's another thing to kind of take in the ideas and understand its concepts and use it in your daily life. What else did I have that I was going to say? I think I went on a tangent there. You can use it for past lives. It's great for, you know, tapping into that veil, into that energy, and you know, figuring out how you came to be, what was your process, and what brought you here into this life. But I always suggest people do that later on, just because for the fact that sometimes you're just not ready to see those images, and it might be too much for you. So if you haven't figured yourself out yet, and you haven't gained that confidence about your own spirit, not your body, not your life, but your own spirit, and know that what is your spirit, it can confuse you, and it could lead you down a wrong path. And you know, there are many things in the Akashic Records. I'd hate to label things as good or bad, but you might get into things that are bad for you, particularly in your life. Not necessarily bad, but it won't service you in your life, because I hate labeling things bad, especially when it comes to magic, because there's no such thing as good or bad magic. It's what services you and what gets the job done. I think that's all I have to say about the Akashics. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. You guys have a great one, and I will see you then for the next topic, which I can't remember what it is, but I'm sure you guys will like it. Good day.